Okay, this is a bolt for an old Mossberg model 146B. I've had it for about 40 years. Before that it belonged to my father, who's now 93 years old. It's an old gun. It's a great gun. It's in great condition. Took it out shooting it with my two sons the other day, and it would not fire. It actually was showing a mark on the back of the shell, but apparently not striking the shell hard enough to activate the primer. I figured it was one of two things, either a gunked up bolt or a bad firing pin, worn firing pin. I got on the computer and thought I could find anything on the internet, and lo and behold, I could not find anything on the disassembly of this bolt. So that is why I decided to make this video. I watched a couple other videos on how bolts came apart, and I figured this out on my own. So I'm posting it for all of you in case you run across this same problem. When I looked at this bolt, it appeared to be one solid piece of metal, which I assumed couldn't be correct because of the way this handle is on there. The handle is a solid piece, so I assumed it had to come apart at some point. I saw these two screws on the side for the extractors, but that did not seem to be the solution. I figured out that this part here actually does screw on here. This is a separate cylinder as opposed to the whole front part of the bolt, and this actually does unscrew. I put it in a vise very gently because I could not break it free. So I had to put it in a vise to hold this part of the bolt, and then I was actually able to grab this part of the handle and flip it to unscrew this part of the bolt. It's loose enough now, since I've had it apart once, that I can take it apart by hand at this point. So if you look at this bolt, again, this part I clamped in a vise, and then I used the leverage from the handle to unscrew it. This end comes off. There is a spring inside there, so you want to be careful that you don't send that spring flying. It's not under a lot of tension, so it's not too much of a problem. Again, that end comes off. The spring is in there. I'm going to take that out of there now so you can see it. The spring slides right out of the end, and we'll put those two pieces aside. You have this piece right here that comes out of there. Short end goes in towards the front of the bolt, long end towards the back barrel there. Okay, once that's apart, you can see you have the handle that is attached. The firing pin has a little arm on it that rides in this channel on the handle. You have to pull this back all as one until you clear the end of the bolt, and then you can take the handle off, and then the firing pin all comes out in one piece. There's the firing pin. I cleaned up this bolt when I had it apart the other day. I didn't realize in all the time I've owned this gun that this bolt actually came apart. And though I tend to keep the firearm fairly clean, all the years of cleaning the bolt itself, while it was all in one piece, did take their toll. I found quite a bit of buildup of cleaning solution / oil inside this channel in the bolt itself. And the firing pin didn't slide as easy, so that was perhaps the problem. However, while on the internet, I was able to find a company that sells the firing pins, and I was able to buy a firing pin for $18. So for that minimum of a cost, I decided that I would just replace the firing pin anyways. So now that I've had it apart, I'm going to take a slight bit of oil, just a drop, just to lubricate the metal on metal. If you do any type of shooting, you know you don't use a lot of oil on gun parts anyways. to attract dirt. So now that I got the piece of oil on that pin, I'm going to put it back in this channel. It just drops into the channel. I'm then going to take the handle, put it back over to catch that groove, and then slide it all back into place, all as one piece. And you can see that that's all back in place as one piece now. And then it's just a matter of putting the other three pieces back together. Lightly oil these parts, just because they are metal on metal. I'm going to get that in there. I'm going to put the spring back on the end here. I'm going to put the rear barrel back on the bolt and screw it back on. A little tension there with the spring. I've got that screwed back on. And I'll tighten that up in a vise a little after I'm done showing you, but as you can see, this bolt now operates the way it should. When this handle is twisted, it pulls the bolt back. You can see the pin come out the end. It's in its ready to fire position and ready to be reinserted back into the gun. And it is actually as simple as that. So I hope this helps anybody else had the same problem as I have. I found a company online. I'm going to give them a mention. Havlin Sales, Havlin Sales, that supplied me with the firing pin, and it was easy as that to change it. Thank you.